Hello everyone, welcome back to another learning video. In this video, we will understand about social and cultural institutes in Australia. As a community service worker, it's important to have a good understanding of the current social and cultural Australian institutes and the way these institutes impact and influence individual clients, their families, and the broader community. This is also one of the most important topics in Unit CHCDEV 005. Analyze impacts of sociological factors on people in community work and services. Institutes are important to the structure and functioning of society as a whole, and there are two types of institutes, social and cultural. Social institutes are formal organizations and systems which address public needs such as government, education, healthcare, and welfare. Now, these institutes and systems interact with each other and form networks to develop around activities that keep a society working. On the other side, a cultural institution is any organization which works to preserve and to promote aspects of culture. For example, Australian society include art galleries, museums, theatres, festivals, ceremonies, and other cultural events such as Anzac Day. Different groups and communities and subcultures within society have their own cultural institutes. The social and cultural institutes in Australia include family, education, religion and culture, healthcare system, and the recreation and sports. We also have the employment sector, the aged care sector, and the labor market, etc. We will now try to understand each one of these. Family. Family is a key institution in any society. The traditional function of a family is to reproduce and nurture new members of society. The family is also a primary agent of passing culture from one generation to the next and of socialization, which is how we learn to be members of our society. It is within the family that children learn cultural values, beliefs, attitudes, social roles, and social norms. From a sociological point of view, the family is a social institution which regulates sexual behavior and reproduction, provides social and economic support to individuals, nurtures, protects, and socializes children, passes the culture from one generation to the next, and provides a stable unit of consumption and production depending on the type of economy. The next sector we have is the education. The function of the education system in Australia is to ensure that all children have equitable access to quality education regardless of their background, geographic location, or the school they attend. It also plays a role in socializing children to become functioning members of society and in passing on culture from one generation to the next. The education system in Australia is jointly funded by Commonwealth, state and territory governments. States and the territories have the primary responsibility for developing and delivering the curriculum and governing the public schools. There are two school systems, public and private. Private and religious-based schools also receive federal and state territory funding, but they are private entities. Australia's education system is divided into primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. Primary and secondary schooling until year 10 is compulsory in Australia and is free to all the Australian citizens if they enroll in the public system. Tertiary education is optional and is a user-pays system. The next institute we have is religion and culture. Australia is becoming more religiously diverse. In 2021, the most common religions were these as shown. Christianity decreased by more than 1 million people but is still Australia's most common religion. The trend of an increase in other religions and no religion is reflected in the religious affiliation of migrants who arrived since the last census. The culture of Australia is primarily a Western culture, originally derived from the United Kingdom, but also influenced by the unique geography of Australia and the cultural impact of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders and other Australian people. The next big institute we have is the healthcare system. From a sociological point of view, a healthcare system contributes to the stability of a society by maintaining reasonable health amongst most of the population. It helps society to function by keeping most people healthy and able to carry out their employment and family roles. It contributes to the economy by keeping the labor force healthy, and it provides care for the aging sector of the population. This allows the family carers to remain productive members of the workforce. Now, Australia has a universal healthcare system known as Medicare. We also have a thriving private healthcare system. Membership of the private health fund is encouraged by the federal government through a subsidy for those who join private health funds. An important aspect of Australia's healthcare system is the pharmaceutical benefit scheme, which subsidizes the cost of drugs, making access to medication equitable to all the Australians. Then we have the recreation and sport. Australians are known for being passionate about sport and recreation, whether it is as participants, observers, or consumers. Sport is a major player in Australia's recreational culture. Highly popular sporting activities across the country include the AFL, NRL, then we have cricket with popular events such as the Ashes and the Boxing Day Test, horse racing, and the popular Spring Racing Carnival, which hosts the famous Melbourne Cup Day. Now let's understand the political system in Australia. Australia is a parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy, which means that citizens vote to elect representatives to carry out the business of government. Australia is a federation of 6 states and 2 territories belonging to the Commonwealth. While there is a constitutional monarchy, which is a Governor-General representing King Charles III, the legislative and political power is held by Parliament and the House of Representatives and the Senate. Australia has a constitution which sets out rules for how the government must operate, such as the separation of powers, 3 separate bodies which act independently: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The notion of the free market underpins capitalist economic theory. This means that government intervenes as little as possible in economic activities. The market is a significant influence on government policy and services. One argument is that allowing people to accumulate wealth creates a trickle-down effect. That is, people with more wealth spend money and employ workers, which means that this filters down to the less wealthy. An example of this in Australia include the mining industry, which in times of prosperity employs a large number of workers as well as accumulating wealth for company owners and shareholders. Now, to summarize, as a community service worker, you need a basic understanding of sociology, which is the study of how society works, which means that you need to examine these social institutes, how they function, and their effects on people and groups in society. Understanding how these factors affect people living in Australian society will also help you understand social and community issues, their impact on the people, and what support services are available for them. Lastly, how community service is actually aiming to address these issues. Hopefully this was a learning video. Thank you.